Thank you for joining the Jay and Margot Show, where we keep it real, raw, and respectful. Tonight, we are talking about how to build healthy business relationships. And our special guest is Sherry Schmidt from Foreman Function out of Bay City.
Thank you.
Yep, she brings to us tonight 25 years of experience in the interior design platform. She was featured in the Martha Stewart Living, Home, and Garden magazine. You were awarded a winning design firm, and you have built your business to a six-figure business in just
Seven figure.
seven
Yeah.
seven-figure business. I'm so sorry, in just a few years. Thank you for joining us
Thank
tonight.
you
We're
for
excited
having
to have
me.
you. Go ahead and tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Awesome. So I'm Sherry Schmidt. I own Form and Function interior design firm here in Bay City, Michigan. And I tell people we're like small and mighty. So this is our design studio in the background. And we've in our small little studio here, we've been able to execute projects all over the United States, including 30,000 square foot build outs. We've done community colleges and uh, hotels. We've done many homes. We've got projects from coast to coast in Michigan right now. I've also done projects down in Chicago, out in Montana, Houston, Texas. So we're kind of, we're kind of all over. So it's fun.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us live. You have to forgive me. I'm still getting over a cold here. So when you hear me coughing, I'm drinking my water.
Yeah.
So just have a little patience tonight with us. Um, So, tonight we're talking about how to build healthy business relationships. And who better than to have somebody that I have a business relationship with?
Yeah.
And we actually just built this relationship over the past year.
Yeah.
And so far, so good. As everybody knows, my co host is Jessica Patman, who is still on the mend from her surgery. Prayers for speedy recovery for her. And in that, like Jessica and I were friends prior to building this podcast business. So we created some rules around that before even starting this. And then with us having a new business relationship, we haven't established that yet. So we're going to get into that
Get
tonight.
the rules
So
down.
when we talk about real, raw, and respectful, this is real and raw. So thank you for joining us live. And again, this is going to be a live interaction. So if you have any kind of questions, feel free to drop them into the chat and we'll be addressing them as we go along. But to get started, like I said, with Jessica and I being previous friends, I don't know if you've ever had any business relationships that you started, excuse me, with friends up front. Because you always hear that when you go into business with friends, it can ruin the friendship.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've had those experiences, but with us, we decided to create what we called a safe word, where we felt like if one was dominating more than the other or wasn't hearing us out, we created a safe word just for ourselves. So when we said that safe word, then we knew to kind of be quiet, regroup, and try to listen first. So starting off, have you ever created a business with a friend?
Yeah, I've gone into business relationships with friends, and with a little trepidation each time because I've always had the philosophy that business is business, friendships are friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to mix the two. And so there, but I mean, there's times when they are inherently going to overlap. Like you can't even deny that. But at the end of the day, a true friendship, I think, will stay a true friendship. And as long as you keep that philosophy, like this is business, this is us, I think it just kind of sets that boundary and and that's the boundary that is okay, and it's just is what it is, you know? I mean, it's
Well,
okay to set that.
right. And I'm glad that you said the word boundary because we're really huge about that.
Yeah.
Did you establish boundaries up front?
Not necessarily. So I mean, I guess in context, I can give a story. I have numerous friends that have come to me to work with me for clients over the years, and they're maybe a contractor or something that, or you know, a CPA that was a friend, and they're running a business, and it's kind of a mutual understanding. Like they're running a business, I'm running a business, so I don't know that we have to even set that boundary when you have that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's just is what it is. And sometimes it works out great and sometimes you just don't ask them to come back and that's okay, but they can still come to your 4th of July party. You know,
Right, right.
that's okay too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I mean, I just think you know, the friendship part I try and really set aside when it comes to building and working on what I need for my business and what that person needs for their business, and we just have a mutual respect in that regard.
Well, that's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And actually, our co-host Jessica has joined us. Hey,
Hi, Jessica.
yeah. And she said her comment was, "Thank God we haven't had to use our safe word yet." You
Yeah.
know, and we've actually had some pretty, I don't want to say heated discussions, but really in depth discussions about our vision, you know, because we set that up front. And like your and I business relationship, you know, we kind of discussed, you know, what you expected out of me and whatnot. But for people out there who are brand new into the entrepreneurship or business world, when they are out networking with people that they have never met before, and they link up with somebody that they feel like, hey, this person and I have a lot in common. How can you tell when that is somebody that you should go further with? You know, what are some kind of like green flags? And then have you ever seen some red flags right off the bat with people that you're like, oh, I
Oh,
don't want to do business?
100%.
Or tell us about those.
Yes. So I mean, I'm we'll talk about this later too, but I'm all about like building internal network and like just build your network and always give people the benefit of the doubt from the get-go. I think going into it, and maybe it's just the woman approach, like we're always kind of like guarded and wondering, is this person going to be able to perform how we need them to give me in my business a good reputation and upstand my reputation? Are they going to be a good face for my business?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a little bit of an interview process. But I've certainly had friends that are, you know, contractors or whichever that did not fulfill their end of the bargain. And um not only one time, not only two times, not only three times, but like four times. And then with, you know, it's like, okay, I really want to be friends with this person, but you know, I mean, the business relationship is really starting to get in the way. Like maybe I should find somebody else. And I think it's a little bit of intuition. It's a little bit of like
Mm.
praying and just meditating on. I always like try and take time to set aside every single day. I set aside 25 to 30 minutes for a devotional and like what does this day have and you know who's going to benefit and whatever, and ask those questions with myself.
Mm.
And if at the end of the day they're not answering, even a friend isn't going to do something that I see beneficial for my business, then I'm going to move on. And no love lost, no, nothing hurt, you know, also obviously nothing gained. Like, so, you know, I just kind of move on. It's business is business and friends are friends.
So, how did you, when you say you moved on, Did you have to have a conversation with them, or what did that look like for you? For no love lost.
Just don't hire him again.
Okay.
So in my situation, but I mean, I guess going into it, and I've had some friends approach me on wanting to sign contracts together and do like a long term or buy into my business or kind of put their name into my business, and I'm like, or a partnership, and I applaud people who can do partnerships. I just think, I've been that route with some people, and we decided at the end of the day, we're going to keep our businesses separate. And we also signed a legal agreement saying within the next 18 months, we should know
Mhm.
if we're going to be able to work together. And legally, within that 18 months, I can say yes or no, and she can say yes or no. And that's it. Formidable split. Um, I haven't had to do that. Like we
Okay.
did sign that contract. I did not have to split, and we both. It's not a partnership, but it's a working relationship, and it's been a blessing.
Wow.
But I think we both went into it with a little bit of like, or is there going to be a non-compete clause? Is there going to be, a no solicitation, blah, 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 like all these legal things that you can look into.
Right.
I suggest if you're thinking about going into a partnership, talk to a lawyer and talk about a non-solicitation or a non-compete
Yes.
and see how the other person responds. And then just decide, okay, maybe we put a timeline on it, 18 months. We should know within 18 months whether or not we're going to work together.
That
And
yes.
and that's, a way to like get yourself in or out of a situation that could be really detrimental.
That is awesome.
Mhm.
Because I know I briefly shared with you when I asked you to come on the show about my experience with somebody in the public eye who had held a position in a place of business that offered entrepreneurship mentoring.
Mhm.
And it was also somebody that I had went to church with. So when we talk about mixing business with personal relationships, that can get pretty muddled. And when I created the questions like the that I posted on the Facebook post, I told you I sat back and asked God, like, man, why do my questions sound like this? More
Yeah.
skeptical on the more skeptical end. And he brought up that circumstance that I had with this person who held a position in a role where their job was actually to mentor entrepreneurs coming up and kind of like hold their hand, and make sure their business structure was set up, make sure that they had everything legal and in place, like to have government contracts. And they told me, hey, schedule some office hours for with me, and I can help you. And I was like, sure. But then I got in there and they were like, everything looks good. God was speaking to me, and he said that I should help you out. And I'm thinking in my head, yeah, that's your job. That's what you're getting
Yeah.
paid for, right? And they said about having a percentage in the company, like, you go out and do the work and we will, run the back end, have a percentage of your company. And that did not sit right with me. Immediately in my spirit, I felt like, oh, that's manipulation. And I verbally said, well, God has not said that to me,
Yeah.
to partner and give a percentage of my company. So until then, I can't move forward with that. Have you run into instances where you felt like people were kind of manipulating, trying to get in because they saw you doing good? How do you know when somebody is really a person of integrity and then somebody who is manipulating you?
Well, I think that yes, I've run into that situation, and I've had people approach me with different ideas that I've had, and they are like I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I want 35 or 45%. And I'm like, well, red flag. Absolutely no, and then I
Okay.
have to think about it. Like, what are they really going to perform? And unfortunately, those ideas haven't moved forward. I think because of that red flag that I saw, and also like the particular person that I was talking to, I thought to myself, what is their resume? What have they done to prove
Mm,
that they're going to be able to move forward with this? And how do I trust them that they're going to follow through with 35% of a potential company that I want to start, And I think they were great ideas, and I still think about them all the time. And I'm like, it's hard as a solopreneur to do everything by
yes,
yourself
yes.
sometimes, and so we have great ideas. I think that a lot of solopreneurs suffer with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're like generators of ideas, like we want to do all these things, and how do you hone in? And so I'm all about delegating and finding the right people to delegate to. However, when somebody comes to me and says, I'll do this for you, I mean, unless they're a shark on Shark Tank right now, I Barbara Cocheran, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
who was the other guy? Mark something. I mean, unless they're them, like, what's your resume and what do you have to prove to me that you can make this idea really fly? And why
Yes.
should I trust you? And I think it's just a vetting process. Just like it's like an interview, it's a vetting process, and you have to treat it again as a business. Business is business, friendships are friendships, family's family, whoever it is that you're talking with needs to be separate, and you need
Yes.
to think in the
Yes.
business mind. And that took me so long to flip my own switch and think of, my business really truly as a business. I have friends that are entrepreneurs, and they tell me stories of like, oh, my sister's running this business and she wants to be best friends with all the employees and da da da. And I keep telling her, no, you're not your employee's best friend.
Right?
And it's like sometimes it can be lonely as a solopreneur. You're
Yes.
just like, you're the
Yes.
one that's in there reconciling the books, and you're the one that's in there writing the purchase orders and writing the invoices, and uh taking out the trash and making sure that the cash flow is there, and what it's being used for. And it can get really like, oh my god, I wish I had a partner. Which to being an employee with employees that with employees and not being their best friend, and
Right.
being that manager and leading. It was a mind flip for me in
Wow.
a few years of practice. So
Wow.
I don't
You
know if
you
that
know,
made sense or not.
it says you
Uh-oh.
are offline with your connection. We're having technical difficulties.
Oh, there we go. We're back on.
Okay, we're back
Okay.
on. I was gonna say we're just having technical difficulties. Um, yeah, you just dropped a lot of gems. If you did not get that, feel free to pause and go back and review that because you said a whole lot in
Did
there.
I?
Yes, you
I
did.
didn't ever think I would know any of that like 5 years ago when I purchased a business, but here I
Mhm.
am,
You know, and
and
I didn't want to
you
cut
learn the
you
hard
off because
way.
you were on a good roll with that. But my co-host here, Jessica, said Mark Cuban
Mark Cuban,
is the
yes,
other Shark
yes,
Tank
that's the
guy.
other Shark
Yeah,
Tank
yeah.
guy. Now, if he wanted to invest 35% in my business, I would definitely take him seriously and not with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah, and that's a gold nugget
Yeah,
because for you being a seven-figure
yeah,
earner, you know you need to have people who are beyond you to help
yes,
you to grow and scale beyond. So that is tip, a huge tip. When you are looking at somebody coming into your company or partnership, it's it always needs to be somebody who has been where you're not currently.
I agree.
Unless you're mentoring somebody, which, we are totally open. That's what you also said, that it's lonely,
It
when
is. It
you
can
get to
be.
certain roles and your relationships. And that's why we created this podcast, because we wanted to make everybody feel like, even though you're trying to improve your life, you're never alone.
No.
And there's a lot of different stages that you walk through.
And I love that you're never alone, because you're really not. And I think for me, like I talked about my devotionals every day.
Yes.
And I literally, I mean, I'm Catholic. I say my rosary every day. But then I, walking my dog, and I just try and be grateful as much as possible. And I've definitely gone through phases, you guys, where I thought I was going to have just a heart attack. I mean, worry, 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 worry. And I think that that was a lot of what got me through it, was just my letting go, letting things be, not worrying so much, enjoying what I do have, which is a wonderful life. I have a wonderful studio. I have a great staff. I have wonderful clients. I enjoy working them. I have wonderful contractors and wonderful friends. And it's like, I think gratitude, like they say, gratitude is
It is.
attitude. It's so
Yeah, and we
true.
and we talk about that a
Yeah.
lot, having the attitude of gratitude that
Yes.
always grounds you. And I'm so glad that you said that. Listen,
Yeah.
you're hearing it from a seven-figure income earner here, okay? So when we say that is like the groundwork, and always keep coming back to that.
Yes.
Because I know in my own walk, I'm not there yet, but I plan on being there with
Oh,
your
you
help
will
this
be.
year. But it does. It gets very lonely. And you know what? Thank you. I have gotten some personal messages from people trying to chat. The chat should be on your left hand side, where you can log in and ask your questions or make your comments. Feel free to do that. But yeah, with that lonely walk that we talk about, um, how did that look for you, making those shifts? Because we've talked about that recently, about that. I told you that, oh my God, I can't even remember that phrase that I told you the other day about the elevation, the process. Natural elimination
Oh,
happens when elevation comes. Because
yes.
when you are getting ready to enter the next phase or the next journey of your business, separation.
Yep.
Separation creates elevation.
And that is so true. I can't tell you how many things or people have been just kind of eliminated from my life, and I really attribute it to my faith and to my hope, I guess, and excitement and the
Mhm.
gratitude. And like I just, I try not to allow that negative space into my life. It's going to happen. Like there's going to be people that are going to come into your life that are, you have to like red flag them or whatever. But you
What
try not to on a daily basis. So,
and since you brought it up, what do red flags look like in the business world?
I don't know. I don't know if it's like me being sensitive, but um it can look like the smallest little condescending comment.
Ooh, that is huge. That is huge.
Drives me nuts.
Especially
And I'm
being
like,
women in the
yeah.
business world, that is huge.
And I run into it with male contractors. I mean, I hate to say it,
Ah,
but I mean, we do run into that. And so I have to like step beyond that and like be almighty. But either decide at that point, like, is this something that I want to step beyond and continue to pursue, or do I want to walk away? And I'm telling you, business owners, future business owners, it's okay to walk away if it doesn't feel good. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you that, I mean, I've had to, it's just, it's not all about money. And it shouldn't be. It should be about helping people, loving what you do, not working in a day of your life. That's what they say. I work.
Right.
But,
Yeah. And
yeah.
so you're talking about where they say that if you figure out what your passion is and
Mhm.
working in your passion, it doesn't feel like you're working a day in your life
And that
because it's
passion can
exciting.
change, and that's okay too. I
Hmm.
mean, when I first purchased Form and Function, it was a 20-year-old business, and it was built in 1998, and I bought all these commercial clients, and it was great, and and I brought in my residential background, and I knew I wanted to go into luxury residential, and now I'm doing, 12,000 square foot homes kind of regularly, like on the coast of Michigan. And then I just it doesn't have to be so set in stone. You can allow yourself to edit and change, I think, with time, and that's okay.
Hmm.
But I think allowing yourself to do that, it's like the ability to allow yourself to be to go into a different realm is okay.
Yeah, to be
Yeah.
flexible.
To be flexible.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And Jessica had to remind us that all money ain't good money.
That's true.
Man, I have had so many instances, and you can tell, like, for
Yeah.
the new people entering the world of entrepreneurship, you will find out real quick how all money ain't good money, because you'll see what your ideal clients are, the people who are just so happy to have you, and they compliment you, and they're just grateful that you were a
Yes.
part of their team to see their vision come to fruition. And then there's people that no matter what you do, you can't please them.
Yeah.
Those are the people that we say all money ain't good money.
You know what I do for that? I've
Yes.
started this like process with my team, and every year, and I don't know if I have clients watching, but that's okay. Hi, if you are. But every year behind the scenes, we go through every single person that
Hmm.
we've talked to in the last year, and we give them a grading scale.
Yes.
How much did we like working with this
Yep.
customer? What did we like working with them for? What did we not like working with them for? And we grade them like a percentage. And then from that, we create like a client avatar. What's our ideal avatar? And
Yes.
who do we want to advertise for next year? What brought us the most satisfaction? What
Hmm.
brought us the most happiness as an organization and a team that works together?
Yes.
And it's worked for us really well. And then those are the clients that we find ourselves like reaching out to and
Hmm.
catering to. And it's, it's, I mean, I think that that's part of the reason that over my years of design practice that I've had almost 90% of my clients are referral,
Amen.
because we
Yes.
like look at the ones that we connect with, and that's okay to do.
Yeah.
You should do that.
And I was talking to a guy who started up. You guys know I own my own construction business. I am a licensed and insured contractor in the state of Michigan. That's how we hooked up.
She's my contractor. Ah, so excited.
And with that, I've talked to multiple people who wanted to hop on the bandwagon of a female contractor. Because
Yeah.
when I first started out in 2017, there wasn't a lot of us. With social media, thank God, yay, we're making that normalized, which I
Yeah.
am so happy for, because we need that a lot more women in the field representing, because we do pay more attention to detail. But with that,
And timelines.
yes. And with that, I was speaking with somebody, and he started up his own trade school locally in the Tri-County area. Again, we don't say names here to protect people's identities, and we call women Jane and males John.
Okay.
And so John and I were talking, and I did have a difficult client at one time who I knew personally. And he really needed to step in and mentor me on that one because it was kind of really hurting my feelings. And he's like, "How many years have you been in business?" And I'm like, "5." And he's like, "And how many people have you pissed off, who are complaining about you?" And I said, "2." Like, to
At
me,
least you knew an answer. I
yes.
don't even know if I would know that answer.
Well, when you're talking about the grading, that's how
Yeah.
I knew. And I had 2 people at that point in 5 years, and to me, that was a huge number
It is a big number. Yeah.
because, I was raised, to do perfection, please, people pleasing and all of that. And he was like, "What?" He could not believe that. And he was like, "Only 2?" And he was like, "You should be proud." And he was listing off top construction businesses in the state of Michigan. And he was like, "You cannot, I don't care how good you are, you cannot please everybody. Somebody will find something to complain about, no matter how good you are." And I'm saying this to remind the new people or the people who are veterans out there and wondering where to take their business, if they should give up or move forward. You cannot please everybody 100% of the time. So when she's saying about the avatars to grade, and see who, lock in who your ideal clients are, because I started to see who, and I had to reflect at that moment and see who was I people pleasing and who was I being happy
Yeah.
with actually doing the work for. And
Yeah.
there is a distinct difference between the two.
Absolutely. We were easily able to say like 80% want to work with them again. 20% no. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like it was just so easy once you write it down and take the time,
And
I think, to do it.
and what does it look like? Because for me, it was like people who were
And-
giving me headaches on the job site.
So we realized you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule. 80% are great to work with. I think it's the 80-10-10. 80% are, what's the just guys? 80% we want to work with you again, 10% we want to work with you, but there was issues. 10% you're fired.
And you see me writing this down.
Like it's the 80-20 or 80-10-10.
Yep.
Fired.
Yep.
And honestly, I want to speak to what you just spoke about because I think as women we tend to be I don't know if it's empathetic or emotional and have like this emotional approach and like they're our friends and we want to like coddle them and
Yep.
da da da.
Yep.
And I hate to say that, but it's very true, I think, to some degree. And I think processing, going back to what I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, like business is business, pleasure is pleasure,
Mhm.
period. And I think, I have to draw boundaries with myself.
Yes.
With myself, with my clients, and it's easier said than done because I want to make everybody happy. Like absolutely. It's just not possible, and that's okay.
Right, especially because you can deliver a great product.
Right.
And
you're worthy of that product. And you're worthy of whatever it is.
And you want to be able to deliver that to everybody,
Yes.
But unfortunately, with human nature, it's not possible.
Not always possible.
That blows my mind,
Yeah.
But you know what? We are actually past our time.
Wow.
Already, yes. So if anybody has any last minute questions before we close down the show, I want to thank you, for joining
You're
us.
welcome. I didn't even talk about half the things I thought
know,
I was going
it goes
to.
by too quick. And I know you guys have a seminar coming up soon.
Yes, I have a workshop coming up. It is all about branding and visibility. It's called Vision to Visibility Workshop. And it's going to be a one-day event on April 11th. we'll put the link in this bio.
Yes.
And my very good friend Amber Wybera is coming up from San Antonio, Texas. She is a PR marketing guru.
Yes.
She is the one that helped me get into Martha Stewart Living. She helped me get into Homes and Gardens and the Spruce online. You can Google all of those. And I'm super thrilled to have her and her PR genius in Bay City, Michigan to put on this event with us. So even if you can't come, we would love to see you there.
Yes.
And if not, spread it to your friends
Oh,
and
definitely.
we would love to see them.
Yep.
And also just for joining, you will get an automatic press release in a
Listen.
nationally syndicated magazine or
Nationally, people,
something
listen to
nationally
that.
syndicated on Fox News or CNN. She's got networks everywhere, and I think building your internal network. That's what we were going to talk about, and
I
we
know,
just
I know.
things, and that's
Yes.
totally fine. That'll be for next time.
Yes.
But
And our co-host Jessica says, "Thank you so much for sharing with us. We really
thank
appreciate
you.
your time."
Yes, I
And
appreciate you.
yep, and again, we will link in that workshop, and that is not just for people in interior design. It's entrepreneurship across the board.
Yes, it's all about sales, brand awareness, and media appearances, and just navigating this new world of branding in this crazy, tech world that we have. So,
Yep. And to close us out, I do want to say, let's not forget about networking because that is huge. We have a mutual friend who actually introduced us.
yeah.
So when you have friends or mutual business owners, you do need to let them know what you do and what you offer because in their line of business, they meet a lot of people that come in and they might happen to say, "Hey, I need somebody who can, I'm looking at remodeling my house, anybody, any contractor, and somebody might say, "Hey, I have a designer friend." And we actually have a mutual friend who said, "Wait a minute, she's a designer. Marco's a contractor. Yeah, let me link them up." And that's how we got connected, And so in order to have that happen for you, you need to be that kind of person to begin with too. And on the Jay and Margot show, if you listen to any of our previous podcasts, we always talk about collaboration over competition.
Yes.
And we are really huge on that. And that's why, we don't feel nothing about sharing your upcoming workshop because
Absolutely
we're like, "Hey, girl power," and that's what we're trying to get across to people, link up with people because I believe God put it in our spirits. We have that discernment, that intuition, like you were talking about. And I felt that.
Oh, I did too.
When I've met people and it's like, "No, don't do this." But then I've blown past it and had to learn my lessons, which it's not a loss if you learn from it. But then I've also felt like, yes, this is God ordained. And it has really helped me propel my business, to different things. And that's what I'm saying here. Like,
well, I've told you before in the past, everybody is worth 300 people. Like, if you think about that, you can build such an internal network. Like, if you don't think that you know 300 people, think about it harder because you do. You know your mailman, the guy at the grocery line checkout, the person that sold you your car. Everybody knows 300 people. And I feel like that's something that I learned a long time ago from a great mentor that built a global business with multiple millions of dollars. And he was just such a respected man. And I'm so grateful to have met him. And it was on a dinner cruise on a ship around Marco Island, and him and his wife were on it, and they came up to me and my husband, and we became really good friends, like for years afterwards. And it was just so much fun to meet them. And he taught me all kinds of things but his main storyline of everything and all the millions that he did was build your internal network. And I think it's just about treating people with respect and listening to their story and listening to their haves, needs, and wants, and figuring out what it is and how can I help you, and then give take. How can I help you? How can I help you? How can you help me? And let's collaborate.
Amen. You know what? And there was no dollar signs attached to that when that was happening.
Not
Was
at
it?
all.
See, and that's
Not one bit.
see, and that is huge because when you are passionate about something, you see that passion in other people that you meet, and that's the intuition. That's
It's
the
so true.
spirit,
You're giving me chills.
and
I
that's
love it.
yep, and that's why we say collaboration over competition.
Yes.
Because there is more than enough for everybody out there. You just have to be that person willing to believe that and know that whatever God has for you is for you. So again, thank
Oh
you,
my
Sherry.
gosh. I wish I could share one more story.
You got one more?
that.
Go ahead. We got time.
I know I like to think about all these stories, but okay, so speaking of collaboration over competition, I've always been an advocate for that. Like that's what I've always said. And I had a direct competitor. I was in a meeting with this person, and she was the CEO of like a business here locally, but they do multiple millions. And it was so embarrassing. We were in a room and she went around the room. She was the keynote speaker and she said, I'll work with everybody in the room except for you.
You told me about
And
this.
I said,
and she pointed you out. Pointed you.
Because I'm a competitor. And I said, well, we're going to have to work on that. And that was all I said. And guess what? I think that one phrase, that one response, because I didn't react. I responded.
Amen.
And that's another thing.
That's a huge
I don't react. I
Listen,
respond.
yes.
And she gave me, ended up giving me numerous projects after that for clients that she couldn't cater to, and became a collaborator and not a competer.
Amen.
And
look at God.
Like,
look at God.
Yeah,
yes.
it was awesome.
The person she pointed
Mic
out,
drop.
that said, I will not do business with you, who she thought was a competitor, ended up being the biggest collaborator.
One of the biggest collaborators.
Amen.
And I said, we can fix that.
Yeah. And Jessica says now she's got to figure out who her male person is for real.
Yes.
Yes, we all need to, because exactly, we never know when our name is going to be spoken publicly. And how can people speak about you if they don't know what you have to offer?
Right.
So get out there and be a people person, not a people pleaser, but a people person. Just talk, be human, be kind. Love on one another.
Love that.
I do too. Thank you again for joining us. And if you are catching us on a replay, again, drop your questions, comments into the chat session there. And we will, if we don't know the responses right away, we will definitely get them answered and then come back in the future and we will have the link for the workshop. And what date is that going to be on?
That is on April 11th. It's $495, I think, for $997. And it is a fun-filled, packed, like blow your mind day of knowledge, I think. So,
I
get your
personally
friends
will be there.
Get
your friends. If you know anybody trying to start up a business, and again, this is entrepreneurship across the board. Even if they have an existing business and they just want to scale up or get the awareness, that global awareness, get plugged in. There's always something you can learn.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
And everybody have a good night. Catch us next week where we are going to continue to talk about how to build healthy relationships in marriage. So if you're married or even not married, the not married people can figure out, let's tune in and figure out where you need to get to mindset. And of course, the married people who need a refresher, definitely tune in. And we are going to have some amazing guests. Look for the post and we will be live again next Tuesday night. Have a good night. Thanks for joining.